So all the way from China, before you get up, hold on a second, before you get up, we have a speaker, a brand from China, which has been quoted as the L'Oreal of China, which is now expanding into the global sphere. So she has come all the way from China with a broken leg, as you can see here, and on crutches, not like Philip from Viacom. She actually has crutches. So let's have a little respect. Subrina Liu, General Manager for the Herborist. Yes.
Okay. It's really a special experience. I broke my leg just 3 days ago. But it's fun to meet you guys here. First of all, before I come to this towards Clyde, I quickly introduce myself. I'm Subrina Liu. Actually, I worked for Nestle for 8 years, introducing Nestle water into China, and then in Unilever for 3 years, introducing Unilever's shampoo Clear into China. And now I'm working for a Chinese local company, the biggest Chinese cosmetics company called Herborist. And I'm working on making it global. So actually, I'm a good example of towards Clyde. Okay, now let's come to the topic. Basically, I'll have 3 parts of my presentation. The first part is about the introduction of Herborist, and then the globalization of Herborist. And then the last part is about case sharing, which is how the East collide with the West. So the introduction. To talk about Herborist, I need to talk about Java Group first. Herborist belongs to Java Group. Java was established in 1898. So it has a history of 118 years. In China, although China has a long history, but actually in China, the companies established over 100 years is less than 10 companies. So Java is one of them. And then the Java already listed in year 2001. And the aim for the group, of course, is to become top 5 manufacturers in home care and personal care segments in year 2018, which including like P&G, Unilever, all those big players. The origin of Herborist is Chinese beauty secrets. For thousands of years, we know that China actually have discovered the healing powers of plants. We had a book called 本草经. It's written in the 1st century BC, and it's renowned pharmacopoeia that lists and classifies 365 Chinese plants. And these plants selected according to the plant's inner characteristics, or you call it property and these type of things, we developed into 100,000 prescriptions. And what Herborist did is that we select from this 100,000 prescriptions, we select those beauty prescriptions. And Herborist was born in 1998. At that time, we sent out, actually at that time it's Java Group, sent out 2 teams of expertise. One team to a very mysterious place called Shenlongjia in the middle of China. It's actually a jungle with a lot of areas, even up to now, humans haven't set foot in. But in this area, there are a lot of classic herbs that only can grow there. And then this team of experts, they went there to discover those herbs. And another team of experts, actually, they went to Europe, America, to try to find out the skincare science and technologies. That's why, since the beginning, we know that Herborist is already a combination of a nation beauty prescription and advanced technology. So it's already the towards client for this brand since the beginning. So the globalization for Herborist. Herborist actually up to now is the only cosmetics brand from China that go international. That was in year 2008 when Herborist started the business in France through Sephora. And then we expand to Spain in year 2009, 2010 to Italy and Turkey. And also we set up, we opened department stores and duty-free stores in Taiwan. In year 2011, we went to Poland. 2012, went to Denmark, Singapore. 2013 to Germany. And then last year we went to Parashop in France and also Sephora in Canada. What is interesting to us is that we set up our own flagship store in Paris, right in the business center, which is the Obeha area. It's just 8 years, so we just started our globalization. So this is the footsteps we had around the world. Last year in April, we opened a flagship store. The grand opening there is quite impressive. So here comes a short video.
我们的战略定位很清楚，我们就是要成为一家国际一流的综合日化企
This is
业。
our president.
所以百草及来到巴黎，只是我们国际化的一个第一步，我们还想走向更多的其他的一个国际市场。
Okay, this is the expansion of our market. And then what we did is that when we expand to different countries, we do the localization for the sales team. Like this is our Italian team, and this is our Hong Kong team, this is our French team. Of course, we have more different teams from different countries. And in this way, when we expand our markets globally, we actually did a quite good job in expanding our point of sales. We had up to last year, in the middle of last year, we actually expanded to 400 stores in Europe and reached 15 countries and regions. That's the market expansion. We also did technical cooperation globally. And this is, of course, the starting. Currently, we have already have set up the long-term strategic cooperation with advanced institutes in the US, in France, and in Japan. And we still start to expanding to more countries. And we also started to do production globally. Before, we only have the production in China. And now we actually, in year 2011, we first have the products produced in Japan, which is a re-energizing mask. Just a month ago, we have another 3 SKUs produced in Japan. Last year, by the end of last year, we have the total line, time reverse line, made in France. This is, currently we only have 2 production sites in addition to China, but we also plan to start looking for the production sites in North America. Now comes with our Herborist case sharing. I will just basically share 2 cases, how the East climbed with the West. And what we meet in the globalization. Case 1 is about entry of Herborist whitening product. Herborist intended to launch our best-selling SKU in France in year 2013, which is this one. In China, it's the best-selling SKU. It's called Whitening and Revitalization Mask. But we know that actually in Europe, the skin whitening products are not really popular. In fact, in the market, we see that skin whitening segment is only 0.4%. So what we would do is we cooperate with French institutes. We redesigned the formula based on the consumer research. And then we changed the formula to meet more like the function of skin tone correction rather than skin whitening, which actually is quite popular in Europe. And then we also changed the name. In China, we call it Whitening and Revitalizing Mask. But in Europe, we changed to Color Control Skin Tone Perfector Mask, which is easy to be understood. And then we also changed the function from whitening to brightening. In terms of size, we find that in China, people get used to use a big-sized mask, which is 500 grams. But in Europe, which we did research in Europe, and then we found that consumers more prefer 260 grams, that big size mask. So that's why we also changed. So you can see the difference of the two masks. This is sold in Europe, and this one is sold in China. And all was done just based on consumer insight. And you can see the difference. And with this change, after launched in January 2014, our Color Control Skin Tone Perfector Mask accounted for 8% of that year's retail sales in European area. So it's actually quite a success launch. The case two I want to share is about international supply chain management platform. Europe actually is one of our main business zones. But before 2012, we actually had a big difficulty in supply chain management there. We don't have distribution center in Europe zone, and we can only do FCA for Sephora orders. And we cannot satisfy the new channels business development request. And what we did is that, first of all, let me show you the timeline we need to spend for doing the supply chain. Before year 2012, when we received order from client, from Shanghai warehouse to client, it took 13 weeks. And then in year 2012, we set up a French warehouse. What happened now is, from Shanghai warehouse, we already shipped products to European warehouse. So when client placed order, we could fulfill their order within 2 weeks. And afterwards, our order fulfillment for clients reached 100%. So this is a big satisfaction for our client. And now comes our challenge. We still need a lot of challenge when Herborist go globally. One of the biggest challenge actually is the formula differentiation. In China, especially, we know that as I just mentioned, we use the Chinese traditional prescription book. And they actually adopt a lot of real plants in China for that Asian beauty prescription. But when we ship the products, when we need to export the products to European countries, we found that according to European regulation, we can't use those real plants. So the challenge is that we have to adjust the formula, but we still need to keep the function. This is really challenging, not only for our R&D center, but for a lot of institutes that we cooperated with globally. What we plan to do is that we actually plan to achieve one-fit-all formula in 2 years. that's why currently all the institutes that we have strategic partnership with currently are working hard on changing our formula in order to still keep China's traditional prescription, but change some of the real plants to the plants that you could raise, not just you need to find from wildness. So this is our target, and I hope in 2 years we could have the products ready, and then we can have one formula for all the markets that we expand globally. So that's the end of my presentation. And in fact, I want to say that for Herborist, it's just still a baby, step out his first step. And we still need to learn a lot, adjust a lot, and then grow up. But the world is opening up to China's cosmetics brand, and I think a lot of opportunities and challenges, of course, are waiting for us ahead. But we're happy to take it. And also, to appreciate your listening to my long presentation, actually, I bring my star products here, which is the essence, the best essence for complete care, which is we call it Taiji. It has a very special appearance, and also it has a very good function, which is proven by also the European lab. So it's safe, don't worry. So if you want to try, you can come to me after my presentation, and I'll give you the sample. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Subrina. Subrina, before you go, okay. I was just going to see if we had any questions from the audience. I was going to make you sit down so you didn't have to stand anymore. Come on. Very interesting presentation, and it's always quite interesting. We obviously are used to taking brands and products from the west to the east and kind of coming that way. So going the other way is always quite an interesting thing, particularly when you go global. What have been the biggest challenges in taking a Chinese product global?
One of the challenges I just mentioned, it's safe. As we all know that we can't deny that made in China, a lot of European consumer or American consumers, they will doubt on the quality of the products. So that's why what we did is that we currently, when we export the products to Europe has a very high standard to test all the products before they agree that your product can be imported into their countries. So all the products produced in China, although they're produced in China, but I can guarantee you that actually it meets all the highest standard that European set. You know that European actually has the highest standards for cosmetics. And then the second challenge we meet is that the cultural difference and also the consumer habit difference. Cultural difference, that means, like, as I just mentioned, that in China we like whitening products, but in Europe nobody likes whitening products. So you would like skin tone adjustment and these type of products. So we would do a little bit adjustment in order to meet the different markets' need. And also for the consumer, consumer has different requests, and also like the product size, and then how you want to deliver the products, and all these type of things you have to adjust based on the consumer needs. This is actually a big challenge for us.
And also being a challenger brand, I suppose you can take more risks. You could utilize some of the platforms that we've spoken about today, some of the technology we've used today, and actually take more risks than a kind of brand that's more established and has to be very careful of its audiences in the West in particular.
Yeah.
And are you finding that kind of, what are some of the platforms you're using? Are you kind of using some of the social platforms to kind of help market the products here?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, even in China nowadays, social market is very key in driving marketing for cosmetics brand. But for Europe, currently we have like Facebook, Twitter to promote the brand, but not yet that active, I would say. The key reason is that in Europe, you have so many different languages. We really cannot manage so many languages, honestly. We can only have like French and English version, But for the rest of the countries, we really cannot have those local languages. But I agree that social platform is very important, especially word of mouth through social platform is really working well for the brand promotion. And I think in the future, we would strengthen that part as well with the distribution expansion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for making the effort, breaking your leg 3 days ago and coming all the way from China. That is a huge round of applause, I think.
Thank you.
Subrina, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.